right, everyone. We are super excited to have Mr. Tremain Holloway on the My K12 Career Show to share his journey with our viewers and our listeners. Tremain is from the great state of North Carolina. He started his teaching career there. He's been an assistant principal here in the greater Seattle area. He's been a principal, and he's currently a principal with the Highline Public Schools here in greater Seattle, Washington. And we are super excited to have Tremain on the show. Tremain has a lot of great things going on in his life right now. He's got a lot of great things coming up in his life and in his career, and we are super grateful that he was willing to come on the show. So Tremain, what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I really appreciate that. I'm grateful to be here in the space with you all today. I'm excited about the future and really looking forward to all the things that we're going to be talking about today on this show. So just like you mentioned, I'm originally from North Carolina, born and raised right outside of the Raleigh-Durham area, Rocky Mount to be exact. My mother was an educator for 39 years. She actually taught me while I was in high school, which was probably one of the most interesting experiences I've had thus far in education.
Yeah.
My dad was a deacon of the church that I grew up in. My sister currently works on the elementary level as well as a kindergarten teacher. My grandmother was a civil rights community organizer during the civil rights movement. So she worked with folks like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton during those times. So For me, I always knew that somehow, some way, shape, or form, I would be involved in helping other people or serving others. But for the longest time, I actually ran away from it. Because I had aspirations to be an NBA basketball player. That was my dream, right? That was my dream. But in my senior year in high school, I actually broke my leg.
Oh, wow.
And because I broke my leg, a lot of the college coaches who were recruiting me looked at me as a liability rather than an asset. But like I said, I had a mother who, taught me and who was in the same educational building that I was in. So she really pushed me, right? So I always had good grades coming up. And so that allowed me the opportunity to still receive a scholarship to go to North Carolina Central University, which is a historically Black college.
Sure.
And so I got a scholarship and I don't even know if it exists anymore, but basically I had to teach for at least 4 years in order to pay it back in North Carolina. So that was my introduction to education. I majored in mathematics and I taught high school math for 4 years. Wow. That's how I got into education.
That's awesome.
So that's just a little bit about how I got into education from the beginning, right? And then fast forward, now here I am, 11, 12 years in, being a high school principal. I would have never imagined that this would have happened. But I'm really grateful for all the things that have transpired thus far and all the people who have been mentoring me to get to this very particular point.
That's awesome.
So that's, yes, I just want to make sure I shared that. That's a little bit about me.
I like that. That's really cool. And I already know, being from North Carolina, that you're definitely an MJ fan. It goes without saying. 100%.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he was a real big role model for you growing up. Everybody wants to be like Mike, right? So definitely get that. But also, when you went to North Carolina Central, did you play basketball?
I did. I played basketball there as well. So,
Okay.
So shout out to Coach Lavelle Moulton, who was my coach when I was there. He's still the coach there now.
Wow.
Very influential person in my life. So really grateful for him as well.
So I'm sure he's very proud of you, and I'm sure you're going to share this episode with him. So that'll be really cool as well.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing that I think is unique about what you shared in terms of your teaching is that you taught math. Like you don't see brothers, truthfully, teaching math.
That's real.
So share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, math was one of those things that really just always came easily to me. It was a thing that I knew I could do without putting in a lot of effort. Now, obviously, as I got to college, I had to shift my mindset with that. But it was just one of those things I feel like I was truly gifted in. And I've always loved numbers and the ability to have mathematical fluency and computation. So that's always been a passion of mine. And I'm really passionate about making sure that folks that look like me have that same exact computation and fluency skill also as well, because that's super important. Math is really ubiquitous in everything that we do in life, from, going to the store, making purchases, to architectural, geometrical design, right? Sure. Math is really in everything that we do. And so I've always been passionate about making sure that folks that look like me, specifically African-American males, have that tenacity to be able to demystify the quote unquote why math is so hard or why math doesn't exist everywhere. So that's always been a passion of mine.
That's powerful. And hey, I'm going to have you on the show again because I want to dig deeper into that because I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
And I feel like with the way that the world is going now, like if you don't have that solid foundation in the math and sciences, like it's going to be super tough going forward. And I am concerned. I'm concerned as a school leader like you that our Black and brown students are not getting that solid foundation at the elementary level because truthfully, I feel like that's where it really has to start. And if they're not getting that, then it makes it extremely difficult because math is one of those building block type subjects. And if you don't have that solid foundation, it makes it super difficult once you get into the middle and high school level. So yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that. So you're from North Carolina, which, you know, for those that are watching that are geographically challenged, that's on the East Coast. But as we speak right now, both you and I are on the West Coast. We are in the Pacific Northwest, to be specific. How did you end up in Seattle, in the greater Seattle area?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're in the upper left here. Really, I was just following my curiosity. I've always been a curious person, specifically when it comes to the Pacific Northwest. I've always kind of wondered about the greater Seattle area with all the intellectual wealth that's out here and just the progressiveness that was out here. And so there's a small snippet story. I was in graduate school at the time, and I knew that I wanted to make my way out to the Pacific Northwest, Seattle specifically. And I had a grad school buddy by the name of Jay Jordan who actually had told me, he said, hey, like, I know you're in education and I know you're interested in coming to Seattle. Like, you should really look into Highline Public Schools. Like, you should really look into Highline. Like, they're doing some innovative, creative things. And this was 2015, 2016. And, you know, never heard of the district, never really did that research. But once I started looking into it, he said, hey, you should actually just email the superintendent. I promise you she'll get back to you. Now, being who I was at that particular moment in time, and still now, right? Like when it comes to connecting with the superintendent or somebody higher up, it's like you got to talk to their assistant and then their secretary and then get things organized to get on their calendar and yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
So at that moment, I was like, I'm just a graduate student, right? No way that Dr. Susan Enfield is going to respond back to me. But I did. I sent her an email. I said, hey, I'm interested in the Highline Public Schools District. I love the work that you're doing. Be interested to know if there's any administrative positions coming available at that time. And within 30 minutes, she responded back to me.
Wow.
And so from then on, I knew I was like, well, this is where I got to be, because to have that responsiveness, that quick prompt response was like, this must be meant to be. And so, you know, we made those connections when we continued to have conversations over the course of that year. And then lo and behold, I ended up being out here in Seattle. We moved, my family and I, June 2016. It was actually Father's Day. Yeah, we moved out here. My wife and children, we moved out here. And I started a role July 1 as an assistant principal at Aviation High School out here. So that's how I ended up in Seattle.
Wow. So you've been an administrator in Highline Public Schools for the last 7 years, correct?
Correct. Yep.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your journey in Highline so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So Highline's been great to me. I've experienced what people would quantify as rapid ascension. Like I mentioned before, I've had the opportunity to be an assistant principal at Raisbeck Aviation High School, which is a small STEM aviation focused school, about 400 students. Great experience there in terms of academic performance and excellence. And then from there, I had an opportunity to become a principal at Highline High School, which is like the flagship high school for the district, right under 1,400 students, larger, multicultural, multi-ethnic school that has a really great representation of diversity. So I learned a lot about equity and inclusion and social justice and a sense of belonging there. So that was really a great opportunity for me. Really enjoyed that particular institution. And I think those two schools really prepared me for the role that I have today as a founding principal.
Wow.
So a founding principal for now our newest high school in the district, Maritime High, which we opened, believe it or not, fall 2021. So in the middle of a pandemic, we decided to move forward because we knew that the community really wanted something that was optimism, something that was an opportunity for them to have some hope. And so being in Seattle, and you know this too, we're surrounded by water, Puget Sound, right? We're close here to the Pacific coast, right? So it was just the great opportune time to be able to come together with organizations like Port of Seattle, the Warmish River Community Coalition, Northwest Maritime Center, to create this institution that would literally transform the maritime industry from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective. So,
Wow.
so here we are in year 2 with 9th and 10th grade students at our school. And, like I said before, the sky's not the limit. It's only the beginning. So here we go. Here we grow.
Oh, I love it. Here we go. Here we grow. Heard it from Dr. Tremain Holloway. So what's next for you? I mean, we're almost, as we speak, this is April 1st, 2023. We only have a few more months left in this school year. What happens after this year for you?
Yeah, so obviously we're in year 2 and we're wrapping up at Maritime High School. But, I will say that at this particular moment in time, I will not be returning back to Maritime High School in the fall. I actually will be pursuing my doctoral degree in educational leadership at Harvard Graduate School of Education. So something that's brand new news there, hot off the press.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so my family and I will be transitioning to Cambridge in the fall. Really looking forward to learning and being immersed in an environment like Cambridge. Really excited about the journey ahead. So yeah, that's a thrilling moment for me.
Tremain, I got to stop you right there, brother. I don't personally know anyone, and I've been in education for God knows how long. I don't know personally anyone that has matriculated to Harvard Graduate School of Education to pursue their doctorate. So we definitely have to talk about this. Like, what would, of course, that's back on the East Coast. So
yeah,
pursue this and tell us how it happened. This is powerful, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those things where you got to have some great mentors. I believe that I'm a product of great mentorship and great timing. I've had some amazing educational leaders in my life. Like I mentioned, Dr. Susan Enfield is one of those folk, but I also have to mention Dr. Ontario Wooden, who's been with me since the beginning of the journey. He was an associate dean when I was in undergrad at North Carolina Central University, as well as Dr. Karen Keaton Jackson. These are people who I deem as mentors who are also friends, right? So yeah, absolutely. So they've been the ones who really introduced me to this concept of positive peer pressure. And what I mean by that is Dr. Wooden specifically, I remember when I was applying, he was telling me that, hey, I'm going to write your recommendations for graduate school, but I'm only going to write you one recommendation, and that's going to be for Harvard University.
Wow.
And so had I not had him, or just others really speaking that into me or thinking that they saw that in me, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you that I applied, right? Because I think a lot of people, specifically folks who look like us, we suffer with that self-imposter syndrome. We feel like we got to work twice as hard to get half as far. And then we get the job and then feel like we got to know how to do the job before we even get it, right? Yeah. But at this particular time, we have to demystify that as Black people, as folks of color. We have to demystify that and know that those dreams that we do have are attainable. Absolutely. Right. We just have to reach up and grab them.
Absolutely.
So I'm just grateful to have those mentors, those friends who have really saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Yeah. It really pushed me to the limits to be able to have a dream like this achieved. Right. So this is really not even for me. This is for folks who look like me, who have aspirations, so that they can see that this is possible for them as well, because representation matters.
Wow, Tremain, I'm just in awe of what you're sharing. And I know that there are people that are watching us right now that are also just amazed at what's getting ready to happen in this phase of your journey. When I think about it, because you've already shared that you're a husband, you're a father, you have 2 children. I mean, how is that all going to work? Because if I'm just trying to put myself in your position, I don't even know if I would have applied, to be honest with you. Because I would have been because I'm in the same boat. I'm married. You can see my pictures behind me. I have 2 children. I would have been like, how do I do this? How do I navigate that? Can you kind of share, what you're willing to share about how that process worked and how that's going to look when you actually matriculate at Harvard?
Yeah, that's a great question. Beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think, the first thing is family's always first, right?
Absolutely.
So, and me personally, the 2 things that are most important to me is my faith and my family.
Yes.
So I have a lot of faith, and I don't think that opportunities like this wouldn't present themselves if it wasn't meant for me to have them, because my faith is that strong. And also, I think, God has blessed me with a beautiful family, a loving and 2 beautiful children who also support my dreams. I'll share this little snippet with you as well.
Sure.
So my daughter actually we have a teenager, right?
Okay.
So my daughter's in the 8th grade. And so we knew if we were going to make any decision to make any transition, whether it was Harvard or any other institution or just moving just in general, we knew this had to be the year. This was a pivotal year, right?
Sure.
Because we've always said as a family unit that we will not interrupt high school education, right? We're just not going to do that.
Love it.
So this was the year for us to, and my wife is actually finishing up her human resource program this year also. So this is not really us moving from challenge to another challenge. It's really us moving from opportunity to another opportunity.
I love it.
And so for my daughter, I remember sitting her down and telling her, I said, hey, you know, this might be an opportunity for us in the future. I would love to apply to this, but I'm not going to move forward with it. We're not going to make any transitions if you don't want to leave Seattle, because I care about you that much. I care about your dreams more than I care about mine. And I'll never forget what she said to me. This is one of those like parental moments when you feel like, okay, maybe I am doing something right.
All right. Okay.
I remember when I got the acceptance letter and I said, hey, like, are you still okay? Do you want to make this move? I remember her saying, Dad, I need you to chase your dreams so I can know what it feels like to chase mine. And so that was heartwarming, man, emotional.
Wow.
And I think it's so powerful, man, because, you know, now she gets an opportunity to see a place that we've always talked about, but now she gets to physically manifest and be in a place where it's tangible, where she can actually be on the campus of Harvard, walking alongside me, you know, going to different buildings, right? Because it's going to be attainable for her now, because being on the West Coast, we talk about it, but actually being there's a difference. And so it's a beautiful thing how it comes together. And, you know, it's going to be challenging, right? It's always challenging to have a transition, especially moving, right? Moving is always tough. But I think as long as we keep faith and family first, those things are what's going to really prevail and help us to stay secure within our relationships and make those stronger. So really excited about the fall for sure.
That's powerful. Yeah. And I'm a man of faith too. So we definitely have that in common, my brother. And I've always said that God doesn't give you a vision without provision, right?
There you go.
So,
there you go. Absolutely.
I mean, God gave you a vision and he provided everything you needed to make this happen. So I'm very, very excited to see how that journey goes. So that also means this is definitely not your last time coming on the show. We're going to have to keep in touch and see how your journey is going, man. Like, this is super powerful. Because like you said, as people of color, man, you know, Black and brown people don't get these kind of opportunities. And I love the word you use. I actually wrote it down and mentally wrote it down in my head. Like, we have to demystify this idea that we can't fill in the blank because of fill in the blank. Black, brown, you know, how we grew up, male, female, whatever. Like, we have to demystify that. And I feel like, truthfully, we're our own worst enemy when it comes to that. Like, you know what I mean? We'll talk ourselves out of it. Like I was just saying, I would have literally talked myself out of it before I even applied. You know what I mean? Do that. And so that's kudos to you. And I've always said one person's testimony is another person's survival guide. So the fact that you are actually sharing this, I'm telling you, you are resonating with people that are watching and hearing us right now. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So, man, you got a lot of great stuff going on. And man, you look young. If you don't mind, how old are you, my man?
I'm 34. I'm 34. Still,
oh my God.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
And you have so much runway ahead of you, man. And I'm not just saying this, Tremain. You know, you follow my show, man. I've interviewed a lot of people all over this world, not just in the United States. And there is greatness within you, my brother. There's greatness within you. And the sky is not even the limit for what God has in store for you, you know, not only with this program, but when you become Dr. Holloway, like, I just see so many great things ahead for you. And I'm just going to speak that into existence over you, man. So
I appreciate that, man.
100%.
That means a lot. That warms my heart.
100%, my brother. So you mentioned your 8th grader. How old is your youngest?
8. So we got a 2nd grader as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very similar to my kids. I have a 7th grader and a 3rd grader. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So do you have 2 girls or a girl and a boy?
A girl and a boy, man. My oldest is the daughter. My son, he's the one that runs the household.
Yeah, that's like the little one up there for me. But the 9-year-old runs it. She's 9 going on 19, bro. 100%. 100%. So that's really cool, man. And that's going to be powerful to both of them, man. For them to see that. And like you said, when you're up close and personal, it's one thing to say, yeah, you can go to Harvard. But yeah, you can go to Harvard because daddy's at Harvard. That's much more powerful. Yeah, that's really, really powerful. So yeah, man, I'm really happy for you guys. And so yeah, man, you have a bright future ahead of you. And I just, man, it just warms my heart, my brother.
Yeah, just another legacy, just building on a generational legacy. That's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm all about. So
I love it. It sounds like also that you're just really open because now we talked about the fact that you're a product of North Carolina.
Yep.
On the East Coast. You ended up in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest on the West Coast. And now you're going back to the upper Northeast to be at Harvard. So it sounds like you're saying like, hey, God, whatever you have for me, I'm open, right?
Yeah.
And so I can imagine that even because we already know the hard part is done. You're in Harvard. So once you're part of that crew, bro, that's a wrap. So you're going to have all kind of opportunities once you finish your program. Are you just open to whatever God has in store for you after that?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. One of my life mantras is just follow your curiosity, which I mentioned before, right? So whatever I'm curious about, I've always had an insatiable curiosity. I've always wondered about different places, and I'm not married to locations or anything. I'm just wherever the opportunity is that's going to best put my family, the best place for them educationally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. That's where I want to be. And so I want to make sure I listen to them as well. I don't make any decisions without them. That's always going to be key in terms of moving forward. So, and like we mentioned before, my family solely is from the East Coast, North Carolina to be exact. My wife's family is from Pittsburgh area, Pennsylvania. So I think being closer to family is super important.
Sure.
I know how much it meant to me to have extended family members in my life, in my upbringing. One of the downfalls about being so far away in the Pacific Northwest is we don't have that opportunity as much, right? So I would love to be closer to family, especially with my parents. They're only getting older, right? My dad is in amazing shape, but he just turned 70, right, this year. So, and we hate to talk like this, but we don't know if he's going to be here for 70 more years, right?
Real.
So
That's real.
I want to make sure that, my kids have an opportunity to have, connections, relationships with him and my mother as well. So I think about that. And so if we can be closer to home, great. But it doesn't mean that we have to be. As long as we can get there, I think everything will work out the way it's supposed to. So, yeah.
You're right. So do you see being a superintendent in your future?
Superintendent has always been the goal. That's always been a dream of mine, and if that comes up beyond this program that I have here at Harvard, I'd be super excited about that, eternally grateful for whatever opportunity that may present itself afterwards. But I also won't limit myself to that as well.
Okay.
I know that education definitely is one of those professions where people can have however much tenure they want to have in it, because you have the elementary level, you have the P12 level, right? And you have higher ed also.
Right.
And so I just always said that I'm a lifelong educator, and I want to be a place where I feel like I'm going to make the most impact and have the most influence. So whatever level that might be or whatever position that is, I'll definitely be open and interested in that. I'm all about pre-K to gray. So wherever that may be,
I love that.
That's where I want to be. Yep.
That's cool. And it's so obvious that you're a lifelong learner as well. So that's really cool. So how long is your program?
Program is 3 years.
Okay.
2 years of coursework, and the third year is a residency / a dissertation work that you're doing, and capstone presentation. Okay. So it's a pretty intense program.
Yeah.
But it's great because it's a cohort model. So there's 25 per cohort. So I'm just incredibly grateful that I'm in the 25, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And people are coming from all over the world in different facets of education. And so every year there's 25 people who are selected for this program. And so, gratefully that, it's full tuition program as well. So that's another blessing, definitely for me also. So 3 years. And then from there, we'll figure out what the next steps are. And because my daughter is going to be in high school when we move to Massachusetts, we'll more than likely spend 4 years in Massachusetts because we're going to make sure she finishes up. So
yeah. And I'm sure she'll be matriculating right there to Harvard. So we're just going to call it.
There we go. That's the plan.
That's what's up. So when you say residency in that third year, does that mean you'll be working for a district? How does that look?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. It's an option. There are opportunities for you to work in different educational networks. Think about the Big Picture Network, or I think it used to be. Yep. So that's an opportunity as well. Pi Delta Kappa, which is an educational nonprofit organization. Also, I know people have worked for organizations like that before. Okay. What I really appreciate about the program at Harvard is that it doesn't narrow you into a box. It really gives you the opportunity to explore beyond just the classroom setting or beyond just the central office setting. And so your residency could really be any and everywhere.
Sure.
So I know for me, with my goals and ambitions, I think central office in a school district would probably be ideally the residency for me, in terms of that trajectory to become a superintendent one day.
Sure. Is that a year-long residency? Is that how it works?
Yes. Okay. Year-long residency. Yep, absolutely. Hopefully, maybe Highline will have me back here.
That's what I was going to say. Why not Highline? And I know Dr. Enfield has went to Nevada, so that's a possibility too. And then we have a mutual friend in Dr. Keisha Scarlett. She's in St. Louis. That's some opportunities, my brother.
I love it. Yep, absolutely.
Well, Tremain, I want to thank you so much once again for coming on the My K12 Career Show. And man, your journey is just so amazing. Like I said, I do this every week. I interview people all over the world every week, and your story is right up there with the best of them. I'm super grateful that you came on the show to share your story, share your journey, and I'm just so excited. I'm excited, right? Like I'm excited for you. You know what I mean? And I just know that this is going to be so amazing for you. But before you leave, can you just kind of share with our viewers and our listeners some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Absolutely. I'll leave you with my life mantra of hope.
Okay.
With everything that we do, you need to have hope. And that's an acronym that I've used, is helping other people evolve.
Wow.
So everything that we do, everything that I do is through that lens. I'm all about helping and serving others. I come from a lineage that has helped and served others. So I'll leave you with that, give you hope.
I love it.
And you can find me on social media, LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm on all the different platforms you can think of. So you can easily just type in my first and last name and it'll pop up. But LinkedIn is probably the most active next to Instagram. So,
yep. Awesome. Well, thanks again, my brother, for coming on the show. Like I said, there's greatness within you and your future is so bright. I'm going to have to keep these shades because it's too bright, my brother. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. I wish you all the best. And you're definitely in my thoughts, my prayers. And I'm just so grateful that we connected. And you definitely got a friend for life with me, my brother.
Likewise. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
All right. Take care.